This video was requested by a follower. I also get asked about Echeveria leaf propagation a lot when I sell my plants at markets. Echeveria are hands down the most popular group of succulents I sell, and it is no surprise people want to grow more for themselves. One is never enough. I already have a video on Echeveria propagation, but here we're going to focus on just leaf propagation. If you want to see the other video, it is linked in the description and at the end of this video. In my opinion, this is the most important thing when it comes to leaf propagation. Timing is everything and can often be the key to success. In my experience, Echeveria will grow the most from spring to autumn and slow down or go completely dormant for winter. However, this may vary depending on where in the world you are. Based on what I've heard from others around the world, the growing season is pretty similar though. If you have a different experience, do let us know in the comments. I start taking leaves off in early spring so they get to have a bit of a root ball on them before the summer heat hits. If you get frost and snow in winter, do wait until all danger of frost passes in spring or start the leaves on a sunny windowsill indoors. Some Echeveria are mildly frost tolerant, but some are not at all, and if your leaves get hit by even mild frost, they could just die. Echeveria leaves will grow a leaf baby from spring to autumn. If your winters are mild with no frosts, you may even see them grow in winter. But the absolute best time to separate them is in mid-spring. Every Echeveria cultivar I've ever propagated has successfully grown and grown fast in mid-spring. Some Echeveria give their leaves up willingly, but others hang on to them tight. I like to dry the difficult Echeveria up a little until they're a bit wrinkly before removing any leaves. It seems to help, especially with plants such as agaboids cultivars that have a lot of the leaf attached to the stalk. When removing leaves for propagation, you'll want to take the whole leaf off, as most leaves will fail if they're broken. Start with the most bottom leaves. If you're finding it hard to access them, take the plant out of the pot. You may have to break a couple to make room. Once there's a bit of space to wiggle the leaf gently to the sides, they should come off easy. If you're not having much luck, I'd honestly suggest to just leave it, dry the plant a little more and try again in a few days. There's a few ways leaves can be stored until leaf babies and roots grow out. Personally, I put the leaves on a tray and keep them in a dry greenhouse that also has a shade cloth over until leaves and/or roots appear. Because Echeveria in particular can be a bit susceptible to all sorts of disease related to water, I like to keep the leaves dry. Another way of storing leaves is to put them directly on top of potting mix. This can work just fine, but if the potting mix is wet, it can cause the leaves to rot. I've also seen people planting the leaves into soil halfway. Again, this may work, but you're also risking the leaf rotting. The last method I have seen but would not really recommend with Echeveria is to propagate in water. I have seen it work in other videos, and if you want to try it, that is fine. My personal opinion is that moisture that will inevitably build up on the leaf can help fungal spores establish and cause disease. Once you've chosen your storage method, I'd suggest keeping the leaves under shade cloth or in a spot that gets morning sun, afternoon shade. You don't want too much shade, as this can cause the leaf babies to grow leggy and tall. But at the same time, you'll want to protect them just in case a hot day comes along. They can burn easily if the sun gets too hot. If you've gone with my recommendation of storing the leaves in a tray and leaf babies have grown, you can now plant them. Leaves will sometimes grow roots first, then leaf babies, or vice versa. If leaf babies come first, I usually wait a little for the roots, but they can now be put on top of potting mix to help coax the roots out. I do the same and wait for leaf babies if roots appear first, as not all leaves will grow a leaf baby. You can still plant the leaves that only have roots on the off chance the leaf baby will follow. However, it is not unusual for leaves to fail and only grow roots. These leaves will eventually die. The ideal scenario is to have roots and leaves. In this case, you can make a hole and gently push the roots into the potting mix. Do not remove the original leaf. It will eventually die off on its own. Leaf babies can take anywhere between 14 to 50 days to start growing. Most will emerge in about 2 to 3 weeks. I start watering leaf babies as soon as I plant them in potting mix. I then let the potting mix dry out before watering again. You can either water overhead or by soaking the pot in a cup of water. Soaking the pot may help preserve the farina, prevent hard watermarks, and stop fungal disease developing. Having said that, I water overhead as I plant my leaves in big trays and wouldn't have the time for soaking. I collect rainwater and so don't have to worry about hard water stains. As long as you let the little leaf baby dry out between waterings, you should be fine with just using the hose or a watering can. Once your leaf baby has grown into the pot and has used up all the root space, it's time to repot into a larger home to allow for more growth. The bigger home can either be a pot or the garden. Many Echeveria cultivars are fabulous garden plants in frost-free climates. If you get frost and snow over winter, planting in pots is the best choice. Repotting is quite simple. All you have to do is remove from old pot, fill a bigger pot with succulent potting mix and backfill. So, as mentioned earlier, Echeveria leaves can take up to nearly 2 months to produce new growth. Much will depend on the cultivar, climate and growing season. For example, thanks to the climate and mild winters here, I can get from leaf to a nearly fully grown plant in about 1 growing season or 9 months. But this will not be the case for everyone, as countries with harsh winters have very short growing season and it can take well over a year. Some cultivars will also grow faster than others, so much will depend on which Echeveria you choose to grow. And finally, repotting regularly is the key to bigger plants. Root-bound Echeveria will grow much slower than those given ample root space. It is not uncommon for Echeveria leaves to not grow leaf babies. Many cultivars are really difficult to propagate this way. For instance, I've never had a lot of luck with some agavoids such as Romeo, Rubin or Ebony, many of the frilly cabbage types and cultivars like Raindrops. I do get a leaf baby every now and then, but it's usually something like 1 in 20 leaves and not worth the effort. Leaves can also fail if you try propagating in the wrong season or when it gets broken during removal. And that is it for today. I hope this video was useful, and if you'd like to add anything or ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to our website succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you so very much for watching.